So how do you take a dog that is reactive to other dogs, aggressive to other dogs when they get there, pulls on the lead like an absolute nightmare, through to a lovely canine companion that you can walk nicely by your side on a loose lead in just one day? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. Now, this Labrador is in with me at my canine centre for one of our full-day behavioural assessment and training plans. Now, this Labrador was rescued a few weeks ago by a couple of amazing owners who are trying to do their best but are just a little bit out of depth with the severity of the problems, especially aggression and reactivity towards other dogs. Now, when the dog first comes into my centre, we do a full suite of diagnostic assessments so that I can really understand the dog's temperament and their characteristics, as well as the root cause and rationale behind the problem behaviours in question, so that I can design a training programme moving forward that's not just highly effective, but it's effective long term, and just as, if not more importantly, it can be implemented by the owners moving forward rather than just by myself here during the day. Now, I won't bore you with all the behaviourist, academic, scientific waffle about the assessments that we did and the results with this dog, but I'll try and simplify it down into kind of one sentence, and that this dog is both incredibly fearful but has a genuine dislike and hatred towards other dogs with intent to harm them if they get there, which is incredibly important. Most dogs with this level of reactivity are actually just very scared of the other dog, don't want to cause them any harm, but just want the other dog to go away. However, with this dog, that isn't the case. With its history that we do know about the dog, alongside all the scars around the dog's muzzle, it's pretty safe to say that this dog has been in many fights, and many fights that have got to the point where the dog has been cut to pieces. And off the back of the risk assessment that I did during the diagnostic stage of the day, I deemed that it was absolutely a behaviour that we had to get under control quickly, which, due to the severity of the risk assessment that we did during the diagnostic stage of the day, alongside the fact that there's young children as young as 20 months old involved in this dog's life, it's a behaviour that I wanted to get addressed immediately. Now, if the risk assessment is much lower and there's not children involved in the dog's life, we might take a longer term approach of utilising much more positive reinforcement based strategies to teach desirable behaviours first, work on our counter conditioning desensitization, and hope that we start to see the problem behavior diminish. And then if it doesn't, we can utilize interruptions and corrections later on. But with the risk assessment this high, I decided to dive straight into a tune-up drill with this dog to remove the possibility of these behaviors from being displayed. That means that we can get control of the dog, make sure the dog understands that those behavioral pathways are now unacceptable and are not pathways that that dog can choose to pursue. And then we can start teaching them what the desirable pathways are. The downside to this approach is that if the dog doesn't know what those desirable behavioural pathways are first, they can become a bit confused, a bit anxious. But on the flip side, if we focus on the desirable pathways first whilst ignoring the undesirable pathways, you may find that when the dog is displayed with the stimuli or the trigger for the problem behaviour, that no matter how much work we put here, the dog is going to slip into this negative pathway every single time. And like I say, when the risk assessment is this high for that behavioral pathway, we need to get that closed as quickly as possible. So I needed to decide what piece of equipment I think would be best to be able to help facilitate this learning within the dog. It did come in on a slip lead, but the slip lead was way too thick. It wasn't suitable for the dog, and the dog had absolutely learned to pull through the pressure of a slip lead really quickly. So we swapped the dog out to a slip collar and lead combination that was able to be fitted much more appropriately. And we went through the process of my tune-up drill. Now, the goal of my tune-up drill is twofold. First of all, to establish myself as the dog's loving leader, in which they can trust in my guidance and direction and understand that they must follow my guidance and direction. We then utilize this relationship to be able to effortlessly communicate what isn't acceptable, and then allow us to utilize that relationship to communicate what is acceptable. Now, what was fascinating with this case, and what you're about to observe happen live in front of you, is that this moment of that relationship shift happened immediately, and I caught it happen. Hey. I'm leaving you there, mate.
Hey?
I think I might have just done it there. Now, in that clip, you'll see that I clocked the moment in which I thought it's happened. That's why I say to my head trainer, it's happened, it's done. We've managed to achieve what it is that I was looking to achieve. Hey. I think I'm going to be there, mate.
Hey?
I think I might have just done it there. And it's in these moments that are so hard to teach somebody how to do, especially in the form of a video like this. That is why people like myself are able to have such high amounts of success when other people seem to struggle with the same types of dogs, which is why I coined my what is now, I suppose, a catchphrase, that leadership is love. If you want your dog to be able to thrive, you must lead your dog, because leadership is love. And that is exactly what happened in that moment. The dog made a bad decision to try and mess with the lead, and I used a little bit of pressure alongside my body language and my assertive, confident nature. And in that split second, tiny moment, that whole world of the dog's mind flipped. And finally, somebody in that dog's life had stepped in and gone, "Hey, buddy, no, I make the decisions. Just follow me." And the dog went, "Oh, amazing. That's all I've ever wanted, was for somebody to step in and take charge and to make the decisions for me. I'm more than happy to follow your lead," which then allowed me to move through the tune-up drill, which just starts to shape the dog onto my left-hand side. I'm not looking for fancy heel, but what I'm looking for is to be able to have the dog on a loose lead, because I don't want any pressure on the lead whatsoever. Because if I do need to communicate to the dog, I need there to be a loose lead so I can then use the lead as and when I need to. Whereas if there's pressure on the lead already and I try and communicate something to the dog, it's completely useless. Now, I was so confident in that relationship switch happening and the success of the tune-up drill that I just immediately brought another dog out, and my head trainer brought one of his role model dogs out. And I worked the Labrador around the other dog, and with very, very tiny amounts of pressure, because we had this huge monumental relationship shift in the dog's mind, I was able to say, "That behavior pathway isn't an option for you anymore." The dog was like, "That's absolutely fine." And you will notice that the dog was like, "Okay, I'm not quite sure what it is that you do want from me." Now, many people might be tempted to stop here because the problem behavior has been addressed. But here at my center, we want to go way deeper than that. And we want to work on the emotional and motivational levels of the dog to help remove the root cause altogether. And especially if we have brought in any confusion or anxiety or fear because of the risk assessment that we've done, and we've deemed that that was appropriate for everybody's safety involved, we want to get rid of that and replace it with a happy-go-lucky dog that knows what the right decision is and wants to choose the right decision, because good things happen when we choose the right decision. So as we move through the rest of the day, we wanted to really put a huge amount of focus on just basic obedience, just a sit being the main thing, and putting the dog in various situations in which we presented the dog with the trigger, so the dog would look at another dog, have that moment in its mind where it goes, "Usually I do this, but I can't do that anymore. What if I do this?" And as soon as we get that eye contact, "What is it that you want?" Boom, that's what I'm paying. Rewarding that. Food, praise. Making sure that the dog understands that that is the right choice. That creates a really happy-go-lucky, fun dog that wants to get it right and starts to understand that if in doubt, look at me and we'll work it out together. And we'll work it out together in a fun way, using our obedience and using our positive reinforcement-based training, because we've shut down the other bad decisions that were getting the dog in so much trouble in the first place. Now, those of you watching this that are thinking things through might be asking the question, okay, well, you've just said, Will, how that success was achieved because of the relationship shift that you achieved with the dog. Surely then that means that the dog isn't fixed, the dog's just fixed with you. And yes, you are absolutely right. But again, that is something that here at my center, me and my team take great pride in our ability to disseminate and communicate all of the assessment, diagnostic and training plan that we've done alongside any relationship that we've achieved with the dog, to be able to demonstrate, first of all, that it's possible, and secondly, how the owners can go about doing it themselves. Now, oftentimes we usually start with actually a bit of a demonstration of what has been achieved in the day. We don't do this to show off whatsoever. What we do is to give the owner hope and excitement, and hopefully to try and wash away any pre-existing nerves or anxiety or frustration or doubt that they might have. When they come back and they start going through the process of us teaching them how to do it, I want them to do it with excitement and hope. And when they see how much success their dog's had, they come into this, what should be an incredibly fulfilling and rewarding journey, with excitement. And then through some basic coaching and education from me and my team, we're able to transition that skill over of becoming a high-level canine leader themselves that builds that relationship themselves with their dog, paired with then the fundamental skills of training, things like lead handling skills, obedience, marking, rewarding, and those types of things, are able to take their dog and achieve the same success themselves at home. So I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you can take one thing away from this video, it's to remember that above everything else is that leadership is the most important thing for you and your dog. Work, strive, and try to become a better canine leader, and you will have a better, happier, more loving, fulfilling, rewarding relationship with your dog because of it.